What I'm going to read is really kind of an associative ramble that I've written in collaboration with Pen Sound, Google Books, and either too much or not enough cold medicine. So, so hopefully, if it doesn't make sense, please blame my collaborators. At a reading at UCLA in 1950, Williams talked about how there has to be a transition from, quote, sentimental subject to the structure of a work of art. Moving from the subject of something we love and describing it, moving from the subject of something we love and describing it in rhyme verse toward a structure made of words that represents something in our lives which we recognize by the way it's made. That's the most, and then this is interesting in terms of something that you said about his kind of aggressive nationalism. So he says this transition needs to be made. It's the most important step in the culture of a nation. So I'm not going to go there, but I am going to look at this transition that he was talking about. So with that in mind, I'm just going to read his poem, The Young Housewife, which was first published in 1916. At 10 a.m., the young housewife moves about in negligee behind the wooden walls of her husband's house. I pass solitary in my car. Then again, she comes to the curb to call the iceman, fishman, and stands shy, uncorseted, tucking in stray ends of hair, and I compare her to a fallen leaf. The noiseless wheels of my car rush with a crackling sound over dried leaves as I bow and pass smiling. Allen Ginsberg used this poem as an illustration of Williams's alignment with Charles Reznikoff. He said, they were practicing the same poetics together, trying to get it to boil down to the direct presentation of the object that they were writing about with no excess words. And so he used The Young Housewife to prove that point. But the question I have is, what is the object in this poem? A woman is metaphorically turned into a leaf, and then the leaves are run over by his car. So it's a kind of murderous move, unless the poem is really about its own structure, making fun of the sappy metaphorical construct, woman equals leaf, and pointing to its artifice. Related to Reznikoff and his book Testimony, and just thinking about documentary poetics, a couple of years ago, I read a piece here that was called The Ring of Strategic Influence, which used the language from propaganda leaflets and instructions on how to make and disperse them as source texts. So here's an excerpt of that piece called The Nature Part. There are leaves in leaflets, updrafts and downdrafts. Follow the general direction of the wind. Constant pull of gravity, modified wing pods, detaching the fins. Winds, tides, currents, sounds projected over water, low-lying coastal plains. William Carlos Williams compares a young housewife to a fallen leaf and then runs her over. But what about the leaflet? A beehive is direct fire with steel dart flechettes. Helicopter birds in the elephant grass. My green eye sees at night, laying chilly for a mad minute. Where are the white mice this time? At 10 a.m., the young leaflet moves about in updrafts and downdrafts behind the walls of her target-rich environment. I pass solitary in my car. So again, this is associative. So I'm going back to this move from sentimental subject to a structure made of words. And this week I've been reading over Asphodel, That Greeny Flower, which is often read as quite sentimental, a love poem, an apology to his wife for his various infidelities, a review of his life work, the thoughts of a man close to the end of his life. He finished this poem in 1954. Herbert Leibowitz, editor of Parnassus, calls Asphodel Williams's most eloquent and unorthodox love poem, a quest for abiding love in the gathering shadows of death.